So this video that I'm making today, I'm making it because it's not only relatable to my channel in terms that having an emergency fund I think is pretty significant and helpful when you're trying to invest, but also because having an emergency fund is something that's kind of relatable to stuff going on in my life right now, and it might be pretty relatable to stuff going on in yours as well. But before I get into the video, if you haven't checked out my channel before, I talk about investing in the stock market and really anything that has to do with money and finance. So if you're interested in anything like that, definitely head over onto my channel and consider subscribing. But other than that, getting onto the video, like I said, the title of the video is probably, I don't even know what it's going to be yet, probably something like, should you have an emergency fund, or why should you always have an emergency fund? So quickly, I'm just going to tell a little bit of story about what happened the past couple of days. So I didn't actually, I usually have an emergency fund of a few $100s in my savings account that's just kind of sitting there just in case something happens randomly that's, sort of unpredictable and I need money right away. Now I have right around $4,000 in my Robinhood portfolio right now, and I have a couple $100s in various other portfolios and stuff like that. So I do obviously have some money left over sitting around, but I don't necessarily want to take that money out for an emergency or if something random comes up. I pretty much never want to take any money out of those portfolios. That's sort of the investing strategy I'm using right now, and that's just how I want to be as an investor for right now. I don't necessarily want to take money out. I just want to consistently be putting money in. But unfortunately, these past couple of days, I didn't really have any money in my savings account, and I didn't have, just any money on hand in my checkings, or at least enough on hand, because I basically had a really big bill to pay. It was like, well, not really big bill, but I had a random bill pop up that I didn't know I actually had to pay. That was sort of like dumb at me, not being very smart on my part, but I had to pay I think it was like $350 for one bill, and then I had some car troubles, and I had to pay an extra I think it was $40-50 for that, plus probably another 100 or so in the next couple of days. I have a couple bills adding up to that. So I mean, in total, my past week or so, I've had to pay, or I'm going to have to pay, upwards of $500-600 of bills. And I definitely don't just have, well, sometimes I guess I do, but normally I do not just have $500-600 laying around to, spend on something that kind of random happens. So I think an emergency fund is a very, very important thing. Now, someone like me, I don't have a lot of dependents. I don't have a kid or a wife or anything like that that's depending on me for income or anything. So I probably don't need as big of an emergency fund as some people, because I could just go pick up a couple shifts at my part-time job if I'm running low on money, or I could, do something along the lines of that. But most people, I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people maybe watching this video, you probably have dependents, like a kid, or maybe I don't know, someone who lives with you, or a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever it might be. Maybe you're looking after your parents. There's a lot of different things if you're probably a little bit older than I am, but having an emergency fund can be very important, not only just in general, but in terms with investing, because the last thing you want to do when investing, or when you're trying to save money, is take money out from that savings account or investment portfolio, because really what you're trying to do is grow that. I mean, let's say you're using an investment portfolio and you're trying to get a side income off dividends or something like that. That's great, but you're probably not trying to use that side income for some emergency car accident that happens or something like that. So an emergency fund, I think, is very, very important. And I don't think it necessarily has to be a certain percentage of what your stock portfolio is. A lot of people say, hey, if I have my portfolio worth $10,000, how much should I put in an emergency fund? And I don't think it has to be correlated that way or connected that way. I think a safe amount for anyone to have that a lot of people can probably afford is probably anywhere from $500 to $1,000 put away in a savings account, an emergency fund. If you can't afford to have that much in a savings account or emergency fund, then you probably shouldn't be investing anyways, because there's a lot of risk with that. And if something were to come up that you would need to take that money out, that's really not what you want to do, and that's not your reason for saving and investing. I think a lot of people run into this concrete problem when they're either trying to save or trying to invest, is that you might be able to budget well and do your personal finance well and figure out, hey, every single month I'm spending this much on bills and my monthly payments are this, I have this much money left over. I'm just going to put that right into my savings account or a portfolio. But then at the end of the month, random things come up, emergencies happen, you know, something like me, something goes wrong with your car, something goes wrong with, I don't know, something at your house breaks, who knows, whatever might happen. And then all of a sudden that couple extra $100 left over a month turns into a lot less, and then plus other things that just normally come along, like, you know, you obviously got to pay gas for your car or buy food, whatever it might be. A couple other things come out, and then all of a sudden that money that you had left over from the month turns to zero, and might even turn to a negative amount of money if you're spending more than you're actually making. So I think having an emergency fund is very, very important. If you don't have a lot of dependents like me, like I said, it might not have to be very big, but if you're making a lot of money and you do have a lot of dependents, then yes, you should probably have a sizable emergency fund, especially if you have, I don't know, a very expensive car. Like my car doesn't cost a whole lot of money to fix because it's not very expensive, but if you're driving a brand new BMW, yeah, sure, you should probably have a bigger emergency fund, especially if you're making a lot more money. Now, a lot of people say, hey, I just want to get straight into the stock market. My money's not going to make more in a savings account. And I do understand that. I definitely do get that. But at the same time, if an emergency does come around or something comes along that you need to take the money out of your portfolio, then you're going to have no money compared to having, you know, let's say a couple $100s in a savings emergency fund and then a couple $100s in your portfolio. If you split it up when you start off, eventually you start getting enough money. If you're disciplined enough with saving and putting money into your portfolio, that you'll eventually hopefully be able to actually start growing that portfolio and have a stable emergency fund. Because the last thing you want to do, which is what I actually had to do, is only $100 though, but that does add up over time. I had to take a little bit out of my Robinhood account. But anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Just want to share a little bit of a mistake that I made that I hope you guys don't make either. I know it doesn't directly relate to stocks per se, but I think it is a very important part of investing to have an emergency fund. But anyways, guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and comment below. Do you have an emergency fund? Should you have one? And if you do, how's that going? Is it actually working for you? Do you have an emergency fund and money in your portfolio? Let me know in the comment section. But other than that, guys, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed.